welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel Ann
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel Ann and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that?
Hey!
Hey! Well, thank you, Austin, for coming on.
Thank you,
That was so
Austin.
good. You did
Well,
great.
I appreciate you guys asking me, and that was a lot of fun. And
Super cool.
Yeah. Alex from my team, I think you were sitting next to him at the table
Yeah.
when I was filming you. Yeah, we were actually going to team up and create an architectural division within Focused Media Collective with my business
Yeah.
and do that together. And he was going to man that up. And then we kind of, after meeting a few times, and I was like, you can he decided that he could do it on his own. And I was thinking that too. I'm like, he can do this. He doesn't need me. Like we were thinking I have all the clients and all the contacts
but
with
imagine if you have
builders.
300 clients that you do probably get a lot of that overlap, and you probably
Yeah.
get a lot of the because the worlds aren't that different. It's not
Mhm.
like a completely different. You know, there's not that much separation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
So-
I mean, and I do some design work, but I'm like 60 images, just go in, run and gun, done. I don't do lights. I don't really know what I'm doing. I do, but I don't in
yeah,
a sense, I don't
obviously.
study it like you have to the
One
point
thing I wish
where
I kind of said too that I didn't was just that I don't know. There's especially architectural photographers. They'll oftentimes hold like what we do on so much higher of a pedestal than real estate photographers when it's literally just different. And so, I mean, the fact that I honestly feel like a strength of mine was being able to deliver good. I could in 1 hour I could deliver 60 images of something I was really proud of. Neal, you were saying you were on my website. Most of the images on the first slider, on like before you go into the portfolio, I didn't want to put those in my portfolio because I didn't have like a whole shoot of great images. But I was telling you I do like 1 or 2 good images per real estate shoot. Most of those images on that slider are real estate, and I don't have them in my portfolio because I don't have a whole body of that house because I have like a project-based portfolio now.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
But even my main number 1 cover image on there, it's like a house or I got a little table setting at sunset. That's all real estate, was all that.
Huh.
And so yeah.
at PMRE, Emma Peters said that. She was like, what you guys do as real estate photographers is so impressive. And I loved that she said that because I've always felt that way. I kind of put myself below architectural photographers because your work is so beautiful, and you charge so much. And here I am running from job to job to job, maybe making the same, but how much harder am I working? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well,
It's a
it
different.
also is like a different
industry.
kind of hard, right? So I'll tell you, I take a 20-minute lunch when I this last house on Friday, I was there at 7:30. I packed up and got done and walked out of there at 6:15, and I took a 20-minute lunch. That was it. And so it's like a different kind of hard because it's not hard. Like I'm not running from shoot to shoot to shoot to shoot, but I am busting my butt throughout, that whole, long day. And then, but the nice thing is just the way it works is I am now, I have 3 or 4 weeks to deliver these images.
Right.
And so then today I can play volleyball. And so I can kind of give and take. And so it's just different. It's not easier or harder or better or worse. It's just a different business model.
Yeah. But I do love that you say that like a lot of the pictures that you're showing are from your real estate job. So it's really, it's different, but it's not that different. It's just learning and understanding how to apply all the different concepts to the different genre.
I think just the only real difference is in architectural and design stuff, if the light's not right, you either wait or you make it right. In real estate, if the light's not right,
You shoot it.
You just do it. Whatever.
wait your 30 minutes and come back to it. But so my portfolio images are ones where the light was right. And sometimes I shoot incredible houses and the light was never right. And I never got a portfolio image out of it,
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
Cool.
I love like a lot of the shots that I take, like I do a full real estate and then I teach my team, go in and take that one single point perspective shot that has good, strong composition. Or if you see an opportunity where there's natural framing, like let's add that in to just add a little bit of that competitive edge to our photos. So they're not just straight up into the corner on every shot. Like anyone can do that. Like let's add a little bit to our images to stand out. I know Neal does this as well, and he's kind of known for that. So
the thing with 1 point compositions, in my opinion, is they're really like can be a little bit tough and time consuming for like the first couple months you're doing them. But I can get down and line up a good established 1 point composition in 30 seconds at this point, just because I've done it. When I deliver a real estate shoot, I would say at least a third of the photos are 1 point compositions. And because I did it so many times, I'm super, super fast at it. And I would say that was the number one thing that differentiated me from more standard real estate into luxury real estate was those 1 point compositions. And if you shoot HDR or you do flambient or you do whatever you do, it doesn't matter. A 1 point composition is just a 1 point composition. And so it's something that I feel like if I had a company, which you guys have a much more successful large company than I do, but if I had a real estate company and I had photographers underneath me, one of the things that I would really push to teach and show them would be adding in those 1 point compositions. And that little video Tony Colangelo has, he talks about how to do it pretty efficiently and quick. It's $100.
I'm buying it.
I'm buying it.
I was like thinking it's 300.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, ugh.
It's
$100.
done.
Still
It's
January. I
done.
still feel poor. I hate
Yeah,
January.
Yeah, it's really, and like I said, it's not your 12 hours or something like that, but he lays out stuff and it's only composition. He doesn't talk about lighting. He doesn't talk about other things, which I like, because if you're an HDR shooter, all the content is still going to be fairly valuable to you. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I like Tony Colangelo in general. All his stuff.
I got to meet him at PMRE
Hmm.
before they went out for the questions, panel
Yeah.
moderation stuff. Yeah, it was cool. He was really, really nice. Very nice guy.
And he has a psychology background. And so a lot of his like perspectives on images are really cool because, we all know that a 1 point composition looks nice, but he explains why. And basically, simplification, the faster your brain can accurately read out an image, the better the image is going to be perceived. And so if you have an image that you can't instantaneously understand, we live in a world where if someone stays on a photo for a tenth of a second, that's decent. If they stay on for an entire second, you've got a great image. And so if they can't completely understand that image in 1/25th of a second, they're going to keep going on it. And so being able to have that image geared in a way where the second it pops up, you have this feeling of understanding and control of what's happening in the image, you're more likely to dwell on it and stay on it. Same thing I was talking about, flat light and depth. If you can't understand the separation and the depth on the image immediately, you're going to immediately go on to the next one. And so he is really good about explaining the psychology on these things, about how our brain responds when these images come up. And so you can basically begin to break down, how to make them easily readable. That's a term we use a lot when we're doing the design things is, does that read well? Does that read well? We'll switch things out on the table. Okay, I have two gorgeous black pots, but you can't really differentiate between the two of them. Let's get the black pot out and put a white pot in there because it wasn't reading well. You can't pull up that image and instantaneously understand what that table setting is. Is that kind of making sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back to what you had said about like the things lining up and crossing in weird ways that you were kind of simplify all that to just make it. Yep. That's cool. I love it.
Yeah. And he goes over like all that in his, I'm sorry, what?
We're sold. You should sell his course, by the way, because you get like a commission because I'm sold. I'm buying it. Maybe I'm buying it twice.
So how much of it, okay, so I'm just pretending like I'm new getting into this and I want to do architectural photographer, but I'm not a designer. I don't know how to stage a house or if the pot should be left or right. Like, how do you learn that kind of side of it, the design side? Because a lot of times you're working with a designer, but when you're not, then it's on you. How do you learn those things?
I don't know if I have a simple answer on that. It was really a lot of repetition. Okay. I think the biggest thing for me that helped a lot, I just took in a lot of content. So I bought the Lux magazines, I bought the AD magazines, I bought the Dwell magazines. That's a lie. I didn't actually buy Dwell magazines, but that just sounded good, so I said it.
Maybe you picked it up at Safeway a couple times or something.
Yeah, right. And then obviously Instagram, just going through, and it happens one piece at a time, right? And so, okay, I've learned that tangents aren't good, so I pay attention to tangents, making sure they don't touch. And then, I start to sit there and go, okay, I want to make sure that I have differentiation in there. And so if things have similar color or pattern and you can't really identify that next to, when they're next to each other, maybe change that around. There's a couple design basics that I learned, like the rule of odds. I was like a big thing in design. So, you never want 2 or 4 or 6 things on a table. It's always going to be 1, 3, and 5 kind of a thing, like tiny little design tips like that. One thing Tony talks about that's another big one is flow. So if there's a gorgeous object in the room, but it's breaking the flow of the image, and so meaning that like you really can't picture yourself navigating through it, then you probably need to pull that item out. A great example is large centerpieces on dining tables. I personally hate them most of the time because they break that scene. And so you may have a gorgeous room and you want to take a nice shot where the shot ends up being kind of over the table. And that tall centerpiece just absolutely knocks it out. So I'm very often trading items for lower items. And so I can see through it, see over it. I'm really working hard personally on the natural staging elements, which is like so hard to make not look cheesy. But it may be the flipped over book on the ottoman and a hot cup of coffee where it looks like the person just got up and stepped out. If a dog ever walks into the scene, you take that photo with the dog. Doesn't matter where the dog is. If you don't like it, it's on a tripod, dog's gonna move. Adding kids in there, or like one scene I've wanted to do that I haven't had the right house for is I want to make like like the kids just ran in off soccer practice and their cleats and their balls and their shin guards are scattered on the floor. And you have these perfectly wonderful curated homes. There's no toasters on the counter. They take all of that off. And so you almost have to work really hard to put some humanizing elements back into it. Now you don't want to fill a sink with dirty dishes, which is realistic, but it's not what you want. So finding that balance, the chopped vegetables is a classic that everyone does, but it looks great, and setting up a flower, arrangement of like, not the actual flower arrangement, but maybe like all the cuttings that they're getting ready. Or
or maybe a mother and child in the kitchen.
Yeah, there you go.
An image of that same scene with my wife and daughter out and all the supplies there. And it's an awesome image. And it just like has a lot of like hominess to it, I did a cookie decorating scene recently. It was like a Christmas type a shoot, and we left all the cookie icing and stuff out on the scene. And it's just so hard to not be cheesy with that stuff.
Yep.
So it's, but roundabout all the way to your initial question, I feel like it's just one step at a time, and always kind of
studying
one more thing that helps get you to that next point.
Yeah. And just studying, like you said, you bought all the magazines, you looked endlessly at pictures on social media, and learning those little design tips. No, that's great advice for anyone interested.
Markered, they're all ripped apart, because I really, took notes in these magazines, and I wanted to do that. So I dissected it and figured out how they did it. And they're still phenomenal. Some of the things I'm like, I don't even know how they did that, but as a general rule, it helped a lot.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I worked with a creative director on this for a builder, and I had done the real estate photos for the broker that listed the builders' townhomes. And they were these little townhomes, stacked on top of each other, like 3 stories high with a rooftop deck. So it's really small spaces. The staging looked pretty darn bad. So me and the creative director would go in, we'd bring stuff from our house. He'd go to the market and buy vegetables and stuff. And we'd put my high heels down next to the bench and like one knocked over. And we would spend probably an hour figuring out how the pillows were going to be arranged. And I'm sitting there going like, oh my gosh, these stupid, I don't know, Peter. Like, I don't know what to do with the pillows. I'm not a stager.
One of my first houses, my first like big luxury houses I shot. And actually it was when I was first starting out shooting on my little Nikon 3200, my little $200 Tokina lens on there. And it's still, to be honest, this day, I think one of my best images on real estate as well. But I was spending the time on that one shot because I knew it was going to be good. The light was coming in and all the pillows in the foreground are really distracting. And so I threw all the pillows off it was on this huge long bowed couch to get the shot. And I got the shot and I was like, yes, that's like the best shot I've ever taken. And I looked and all these pillows were scattered on the ground. And I'm like, there was an interior, or at that point, it was a stager that spent probably 30 minutes doing these pillows. I didn't have a photo of it or anything. I probably spent the next 20 minutes like trying to like do my best to put them back in some sort of reasonable order. And
That's funny.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah,
No,
and
pillows are tough.
I was thinking that too when you talked about your assistant having to put stuff back. Do you do a shot before you change everything so he knows where everything goes?
should.
That's a great
Um,
idea, Neil.
No, and I intend to, and if it's a very complicated scene, I do. One thing is it's usually designer shoulder to shoulder with me. So oftentimes we'll shift things around, they'll like it, and then we're gonna move it back. But that's not my call, that's their call. A lot of it's obvious. I moved the couch 6 inches back, and obviously you can tell where the couch was. And so usually I don't need to. Usually it's good enough where I can figure it out. But there has been a couple times where I haven't taken a photo and I've regretted it because we were like sitting there like, oh crap, how is this arranged? Kind of.
Because I've had that sensation just at going into like a kitchen or something. It was, and the agent's just like, "I'm so sorry, they're not ready. Can we just move some of this?" And then after we're trying to they're not there, so we're like trying to put their stuff back. Like, where was this thing that I threw in the closet? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Or like the townhome that has all the blue tape everywhere, and it's punch list. And they've come through and done the whole punch list, and then the broker's like, just pull it down. And I'm like, do you want me to just take pictures of it and I can put it back? And they're like, oh yeah, that would be better. I'm like, yeah, let's not piss off the builder. Like,
I always tell them too, is like the blue tape stuff, because obviously like that's in like the homes I shoot. I'm like, it's generally 99% of the time just easier to Photoshop it out. It's like little blue tabs on there. I was like, just leave them.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on the video side, I'm gonna have to figure that out.
And that's just it. The Matterport and the videos.
Much harder there. Yeah.
Do you ever do Matterport for your builders or architects?
No, so I never really invested. I've literally only been photography. I really recently started with my drone stuff like 6 months ago, and I even avoided that for a long time. And the reason being is after that first couple years, when I was at that point in my career where I would begin to start expanding into things like Matterport, and I would begin expanding into all those things, I had made that decision that I wanted to go into the design architecture side. So I didn't feel like investing in Matterport and things like that would be toward that goal. I was very goal driven. And so everything was, is it going to get me to this? And if it was, then yes. And if it wasn't, then I didn't do it. I did do Matterport. There was a short period of time where I wasn't getting a lot of business in like 2019, I think. And another company asked me if I could do some Matterport stuff. And so I've used a Matterport, did like 5 shoots with one. And so I literally did 5 houses, and that will never leave my head.
Oh, I know.
You don't like that noise?
No. It's the worst.
Actually, Matterport has had a lot of issues with alignment, like the scans aligning, and they now have a button on there they can update, and you can realign the layer. So you can like actually, because sometimes a bedroom would be like crooked. Like when you're scanning, you'd scan into like a bedroom and it wouldn't align. And then so the bedroom would actually be crooked on your scan. You just click.
You can't move forward because it says misalignment or whatever. And there's nothing you could do but just like try 1,000 more times. Yeah.
I just tried 1,000 more times. I thought that was I just figured that was the solution. Yeah. Matterport is, one that I did not regret not investing in. Although it was like economically like a great thing. I get a really good choice there, but no.
Yeah. I got a question for you. Is there any demand, anybody for drone for architecture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just shared one on my stories. It might still be up or not. It's just really important to still treat it as a tool and not as like, I offer drone. So it's my discretion generally on whether or not the drone needs to go up. And so I shot an incredible property the other day, and it was sitting up on a hill, probably 20 feet up, and then had great mountain views behind it. And if I can, I'll get on top of my car instead of my tripod, but even that wouldn't have gotten the mountains behind it. So it just made complete and utter sense to throw the drone up. The one composition that I am a huge fan of on the drone is straight downs of pools. That's just one that just seems to always look good, very artistic. It's very bold. But the only thing I'll say that I was really cautious about the drone for, and why I didn't invest in it for a long time, is, and same thing with video, to be honest, it just doesn't seem to be used as a tool, and it seems to be used almost, I hate to say, as like a gimmick. So like, okay, here's a house, click, drone, click, drone. Cool, here's your drone shots. Versus really kind of saying, is this shot better with the drone? because most houses, in my opinion, are not better with the drone shot. Some, it's the only way you can capture it.
Right.
And so just, having the discretion of doing that. And then with video, that was kind of the same thing. Is it just kind of seemed that like a lot of video that I was seeing was very formulaic and just, didn't matter what the home was or what the elements or the details were. You kind of had a system or a process you just kind of ran through with the drone, and then you kind of had your 5 or 6 audio picks, and then you threw it on there and you had a product. And then I started to see Steven's video work, Steven Magnar, and then his good buddy and my friend Andrew Benasco as well. And then a couple others, but they were really the main two. And I started seeing their video work, and I was like, this is cinematic and beautiful and soft and controlled. And, a third of the shots are just still images. They don't even have any movement. And when it does have movement, it's just short pans, and they do time lapses and all this cool stuff. And it really was like crafted to the home. And then the next one Steven will be faster or bumpier. He did one that reminded me of a freaking like Batman, like
action sequence
and stuff like that. And it was just this like more newer condo. And so seeing his stuff made me really, and then they also bugged me a lot. They're like, you got to do video. So I eventually have committed. I'm working on my first one, but I think it turned out good.
Good for you. I can't wait to see it. Are you going to post it on social?
Yeah. It will probably take me a little while because I'm literally like learning it as it goes, as I go. Cause I literally was like, okay, well, I'm doing this in 2 days. So I studied all the capturing side and less of the editing side. So now I'm like trying to figure out editing. Even I've never felt so much like a noob since I first started doing this.
Premiere is so frustrating too.
Yeah.
Working.
And of course, there's like a lot of overlap. That's great. Like, obviously like things like, compositions overlap really well. Understanding accurate colors and color sciences and things like that overlap really well. But there's so much that doesn't overlap. There's so much that I'm like, I thought the editing would be, I know how to edit photos all day. I'm good. And then I'm shooting all my video in log profiles or like a S log. And so like, it's just literally like a flat gray image. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. And so
learning how to color grade.
Yeah, but I'm getting there. They're turning out pretty good. So yeah, figure it out.
Good for you. Well, way to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. That's awesome.
I want to show you guys one thing before you go, if I can. So that image was the magazine. That image is real estate. That image is the magazine. Same house as the other one, actually. That's a real estate shoot. That's a real estate shoot. And that's a real estate shoot.
Gorgeous.
Nice stuff.
So those are all
houses.
Yeah, they're pretty dope.
Not ugly houses.
No.
That's kind of the unspoken thing, and I probably something else I should have said in there too, but that's kind of like a hard reality of it too, is you do have to develop the skills to be an architectural and design photographer, but you got to get in these houses one way or another. And so, but what you can do is if you shoot pretty nice design, then you can get a little bit better designer than that. But to really start like really pushing and start shooting for the clients that are designing these types of houses, you have to shoot these types of houses. And so honestly, real estate, I think, is a great path in this whole industry, because if you can get into the luxury real estate side of things, you can shoot some pretty dang incredible houses. Now, it may only come up once every few months if you're doing really nice luxury real estate, but that can be enough, And if it's a great client, you can advocate with them and say, hey, here's the deal. I will charge you what I always charge you. How many hours can you give me in this home? I did that a lot. And sometimes they would say, hey, this person's in a hurry. You have your standard hour and a half, 2 hours. And like, okay. And then other times they'd say, oh, would you do that? That's so awesome. Cool. Have all day, but you've got to develop the portfolio, because you can do all the marketing in the entire world you want. But if your images suck, then it's just, you don't have the marketing material to present to them.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
No. Awesome. I love that point. Yeah. How much time can you give me? That's
The very first image on there, I got there 2 hours before twilight, and the homeowner was super. I normally like collaborative, but she was very over my shoulder, which a homeowner over your shoulder is much more difficult than a designer. It's not the same thing. And she made me re-edit that whole house too. That was a funny one. But I had totally white walls in the house, and she was like, I can't believe this edit. He made my walls white. And both the agent and I were like, and so we have to like find a really like catered, like nice way of saying, like, what color do you think your walls are? Anyway, figured it out. But I got there and I went, I can get this done. I will take all the time. And I was like, I have tomorrow open. I will come here tomorrow and I'll spend all day here. And I ended up doing that. And I got at the time like half my portfolio images from that one house. Because you don't, you can milk it. Not every house, like not every room looks exactly the same. So you can milk 10 portfolio images out of one really nice house. So and for your portfolio, they don't need to know they're all from the same luxury home.
Right.
Obviously
Right.
2 or 3 might kind of show together, but the powder room, there's no way of them knowing that powder room is in that house. There's no way of them generally knowing that master bedroom is a part of that same house. And so you can kind of, if you get 3 incredible homes, you can do that. You can really build a nice portfolio from there.
Yeah. You know what I love about everything that you're talking about in your whole journey is that you are really obsessed with this craft and you've taken every opportunity that you can to perfect it and to get better. And you haven't stopped or quit or let things get in your way. It's like when there's a will, there's a way, and it's something that you've wanted. I'm sure you've envisioned where you want to be and it's coming true for you. It seems like every day you're getting better and better and getting these bigger, cooler projects. And it's just really neat to hear what you've put into it to get to where you are.
That's why Emma's speech at the conference, I feel like, was so important for me, because I almost didn't go to the conference because I was feeling such heavy feelings of not burnt out, because I still loved what I was doing, but I was like making myself sick with that pursuing of getting better. And like, I know the images are great and I can understand that from like a outside perspective, but I looked at my whole portfolio and was just not happy with what I was looking at. And I compare myself to the top, and I think that's good because it's really pushed me. And Emma's speech of, she told me later in a separate message on Instagram, she goes, we're not saving babies. And I was like, okay. And she's like, don't take yourself seriously. And since I backed off, what I noticed was I was getting so formulaic that my images were getting more and more perfect, but they just weren't. They were becoming more and more sterile. Sure, the windows were flawlessly exposed, the blah, 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 blah. All these things that honestly, you open up an AD magazine, those windows suck. They're not very good at exposing windows. And the image is incredible, And so taking myself less seriously, and the advice of Emma has been really big. And I've learned to step back and work more creatively, which I feel like has really been a really big impact. And maybe even it's almost like a spectrum, in my opinion of creative side of things versus the kind of like formulaic perfect side of things. And so like there's got to be some sort of balance in the middle, because I can't just deliver like a straight down shot of a rug and that's it and call that the set of images, because it's abstract. It's not going to kill me if I do that. But at the same time, like I need to have a creative aspect. And so finding that balance within that spectrum is kind of a challenge that I'm working on right now.
Yeah, I like that perspective too. That's good to hear, because I'm sure, I took photos throughout this year and I was really excited about them. At the end of the year, I went back to go like, let me grab some of those photos. And when I looked at that house, like every photo in that house was great. And then I was like, where's the one I like? You know what I mean? And so it's good to know that, that's part of growing, right? That you're going to want to do better, but to also not just beat yourself up about when you're not getting what you think you should be getting. You're on your journey to get there, right?
Yeah. My wife, I'm so proud of her for just not killing me over all the years, because literally like every big shoot I do, I'll be like, this is so cool. This is awesome. And then I'll go to the shoot and be like, these are the best photos I've ever taken. This is it. I've hit my peak. And then I'll wake up the next morning and I'll start editing and I'd be like, this is terrible. Like, I don't even think I should deliver these to the client. She'd be like, what? And then the next morning I'd be like, oh my God, these are incredible. I need to make these in my portfolio immediately. And the up and down is just wild. Oh, it's wild. And I just have really high expectations, and I am pushing to continue moving up. And so I feel like, on one end, compared to what I was doing 2 years ago or even a year ago, these images are just wildly better. But then I look at Simon DeVitt and Emma Peter and like all of these photographers that I really, love their work. And my stuff isn't there. My stuff isn't quite what they're doing. I'm not shooting the way Emma is,
Right.
I think I can get there. I think I will get there, but I have to have some sort of
Yeah.
balance between realizing, the fact that I know I'm a good photographer and I take good images and I know I've improved greatly, but then also being dissatisfied that I'm not at that
Right.
top.
Right.
And so it's just a balance.
Patience, little one. It will come.
Yeah. And the journey continues for us all. A lot of people looking
Yep.
at your work going, he's there, he did it. Like, that's it. What does he do? He hangs up his hat now? No, he's like, what? Now he's trying to go further. Yeah. It continues.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
Emma even said like she gets butterflies and thinks she has imposter syndrome all the time. Like she's not good enough to be doing these things. So she still doubts her work.
I even
though
had
she's
that with this podcast too. I was like, I don't know. It's like, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, your
Well,
work's great.
I think it's good for everybody to hear that too. Just that, like, hey, we're all like the same, and we all have these feelings, but you know what? We're all working hard, and we're doing good things. We're helping people with our work, and we're helping our lives with our work, and it's phenomenal. So keep your head up even when you get down on yourselves, which we all do time to time. But
Dangerous
good.
if you stop feeling that way. I've talked to older photographers. I've been in the industry a long time, and one of them even kind of said a funny statement. And he was like, I have been taking technically perfect images for 20 years, and I wasn't a big fan of his work. And it just got to that point where when you do believe that you've reached it is kind of where you stop growing and where you stop improving. So just doomed to always be and riddled with anxiety.
It's like the mad artist or poet,
I
right?
know.
They're always crazy, but they produce this beautiful work. You're like, never.
Oh my gosh, I
I
love
won't be
that.
cutting my ear off anytime soon, though. So I think we're
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Well,
Well, I could chat all night, but
Right? I know. We should.
I think we got it, man. I think we got everything. This has been amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
and thank you for
guys.
sticking around after hours to this is a second episode that we just produced of an
Oh,
after
yeah.
hours with Austin.
Hopefully, like little
Lawrence.
tidbits.
Well,
Thank you,
thanks
guys.
again.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Austin. All right.
Have a great night.
Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Yep, of
Bye.
course, anytime. Have a good day, guys.
You too.
Bye.